help me with a slow clap? Does anybody know how to do that? Can I get somebody to help with the slow clap? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Darren Abernathy. Darren Abernathy is the Associate Executive Director of Chapter and Alumni Services. Darren, come on up. Oh, thank you very much. I am glad to be here. Thank you very much for inviting Sigma Alpha Epsilon to be a part of your expansion process. We are here tonight to just tell you guys about what it means to be SAE and what it means for UCF to bring SAE to campus. As we get started in this process, my hope is that you're going to notice some overlap in the University of Central Florida's creed and SAE's mission statement. We're a fraternity whose mission centers on friendship, scholarship, and service. And as we go through this presentation, you're going to notice some unique and subtle differences between our organization and between the others that you've invited to campus and between the others that already exist here. It's our objective to help you see that our values align with your alma maters. We want you to know that we are here humbly and grateful to have this opportunity. Every single time we get invited to present, it just means that our organization has had a little bit of a bright light shone on it from those of you that are gracious hosts tonight. Now, we can't really start looking forward until we've gone backwards a little bit. I want you to know that Sigma Alpha Epsilon adopted the use of the True Gentleman, which was penned by a brother named John Walter Whalen back in the 1930s. The True Gentleman was created in an essay contest for the Baltimore Sun newspaper. And we went into Virginia Omicron chapter, where John Walter Whalen was initiated from, and then began using this and using it regularly for about the last 50-some-odd years. And it's just a part of our creed, and it's a part of who we are and who our members aspire to be. I stand here humble, knowing that on February 3rd of 1973, the University of Central Florida created the Florida Epsilon Sigma Alpha Epsilon chapter. I'm more humble that 3 or 4 months from now will be an opportunity for our alumni to relish in 40 years of fraternity experiences that would not have been created if it weren't for the university partnership in allowing SAE to be on campus. We can't shy away from our past, however. Having our creed on display, you can clearly see that hazing is not a part of our ideals. It was hazing that caused us to close our chapter here on campus 6 years ago, 7 years ago. We worked hand in hand with the university at that time. We had multiple staff members on campus to work through the closure of the organization. It also led to the expulsion of every single member that was a part of what was created in the environment that existed on this campus. SAE does not tolerate these kind of actions. Those men have been expunged from our organization. They will not be around. So you can know going in that when you invite us back and you bring us back, you're getting SAE for the values that it stands for. You're getting it for the belief in the creed that is on the screen. Now, noting the past, we always have to look forward. SAE is here tonight looking to garner support for the new chance to be a part of the Greek community once again. We're here tonight to hopefully open that door to create a new generation of proud, engaged, thoughtful knights, future UCF and SAE alumni. We want our men to be humble in creating new opportunities for our members and the community that they're a part of. We want them to represent Central Florida and assimilate into the ranks of alumni like the gentleman that we have here tonight. Brothers, will you please stand? I present to you men who not only helped originally found the chapter in some degrees, we also have brothers here tonight that served as the former student body presidents and vice presidents. We also have men that have grown to become great leaders in the Orlando community, men who have helped establish contributions that have been transformative to this university. We have brothers here tonight that have been instrumental in helping bring the medical school to campus. Thank you, gentlemen. We've been strongly involved in the past, and we will be contributing members to the community again if given the opportunity. Our past is a small part of what makes our organization different. Presently, we're at just over 250 chapters. We are a very large national organization. Matter of fact, we are the largest that you are interviewing as part of your process. With that in mind, we're also in the process of welcoming one of our newest chapters into the realm. This coming Sunday, the gentlemen that go to school at Delta State University will become a full part of our Mississippi Delta Sigma chapter. We will be just over 305,000 initiates when we bring those brothers into the realm, and just over 190,000 living alumni, which creates a far-reaching network for undergraduate mentors and future job seekers. One thing that I do want to also point out is we're not just trying to find jobs for SAEs. The men that I have talked to that are alumni of this organization regularly talk about their friendships and their affiliations that run throughout the gamut of the Greek culture and Greek life here on campus. Many of the brothers here tonight work with other Greeks from UCF. Some of them have gotten jobs from other Greeks. Some of them have helped create jobs for them. Our fraternity is an inclusive group. We want to make sure that those opportunities are open and exist for not only our members, but for people that are a part of the Greek community. We also have to build our colonies on solid foundations. We use a collaborative support approach when we start something new. We believe that it's got to exist with not only staff support and university support, but the reason why we have so many alumni here tonight is because it takes their support. This is a small stack of about 20 different emails that have come in just within the last 48 hours of not only fraternity brothers that are alumni, but a handful of sorority women, a handful of wives that have sent emails to our alumni saying, if you get back on campus, we want to help. Because they believe that SAE can do great things, but they know it's going to take support to get it there. It's a very humbling thing to see the people reaching out to us and see them wanting to be involved. We're looking forward to being a part of what is a large, strong Greek system at the University of Central Florida. And we think we can be a different value-added fraternal experience on campus through a large variety of different programming and opportunities that we offer to our members. One of the things that we offer is something called the Inner Circle. It's an opportunity for 25 hand-selected brothers, considered the cream of the crop, to go spend a weekend with some of SAE's finest, most influential alumni. These 25 brothers get handpicked through an application process and through interviews and referrals, and they get taken up to Annapolis, Maryland, right outside of DC, for a weekend-long mentorship program where they have the opportunity to meet a brother that is the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, an opportunity to interact with the most recent past president of Marriott International, with a brother that also was a co-founder of US Oncology, and whose lifelong mission has been to cure cancer, and with brothers that are US congressmen and senators. It's a weekend experience that cannot be beat. It's a weekend experience that SAEs get. The newest program on the docket is something called the Devotee Ritual Institute. This is something that we're extremely proud of. It just finished up its second full weekend this last year. Our first year in 2011, we had about 45 brothers from across the country that came into it. This year, we tripled that. 150 men from Florida to California to Boston came into Evanston, Illinois, to our Chicago headquarters at the LaVere Memorial Temple. One of the things that is unique about SAE is our headquarters. The LaVere Memorial Temple was built in the middle of the Great Depression. It's a building that is open for usage to the fraternity and sorority community. The last few Christmases, we've started a tradition where we have an open house, and we invite the headquarters staff from Sigma Chi, and we invite the Alpha Phi staff to come over, along with alumni, and we just enjoy ourselves. It's something that's hosted by our foundation, and we have a great time fellowshipping for a couple of hours right after work. It's a building that is without equal, and it is a building that is open. If you ever want to go to Chicago, we'd love to have you. We also have a number of other programs. The True Gentleman Day of Service is done in conjunction with National Youth Service Day. We average about 100 chapters that sign up and on their own free will go out and do community service on just that day. Last year, we totaled about 15,000 hours of community service from those 100 chapters that went out and did different philanthropic projects. Now, we also have some fun stuff that we get our members engaged in. We have a national amateur golf tournament. Last year was the first time in its almost 35-year history that an undergraduate won it. There are some bragging rights right now. There are some alumni that have been spending a lot of time on a putting green. It's in the Pensacola area. It's hosted by the Pensacola Area Alumni Association, and it's a great weekend opportunity for fellowship for alumni and undergrads. We also host the SAE World Series of Softball. I would go ahead and offer an extension that if there is a fraternity team that would like to go and compete in this and play against some of our best, we'd be glad to have it. It should be a little bit of an interfraternal thing, and I think the founders would love it. So, it's outside of New Orleans every single year. One of the great things that goes along with this is one of my favorite stories about SAEs. We have a chapter for the last 6 years in a row. They have gone from California to New Orleans. They take the entire chapter of about 60 guys. They road trip it for a week because it usually always lines up with when their spring break is. They go in and they do an entire week's worth of community service, helping to rebuild Katrina. And then they also go in and play softball. They get a great dual purpose out of it. It's a fantastic event. Now, our signature event is the John O. Mosley Leadership School. This has been going on now for what will be 78 years this August. It is a leadership school like no other. It is a leadership school that is offered on a cruise ship. Some of you are thinking, how do you get away with this? Very simply. It's really hard to abandon a cruise ship. We have a really great turnout and a phenomenal time. We have 700 brothers that go through almost 40 hours of educational programming in a 5-day time period, Monday through Friday. It is early starts, it is long evenings, and it is all values-packed. It operates off of a UIFI type of model, if any of you have ever been to UIFI's leadership programming. And it is one of the longest, it is the longest running leadership school in the entire country. And it's also the only one that's on a cruise ship. We also have some fantastic events like SAE Homecoming, where we bring generations of SAEs up to the LaVere Memorial Temple for a weekend of fellowship every single year. It's there to embody the true ideals of our fraternity, of bringing brothers together from across the country and around the realm for enjoying a good time with family and old friends. Oh, one of the other things that makes us a little bit unique is we have a regional leadership school program. This is something that's also brand new to our organization this year. We have done it in the past, but it's been on about a 5-year hiatus. The regional leadership school programs this year come with a $7,000 cash stipend to the chapters and the alumni that help plan them. They have benchmarks that they have to meet that are a part of that programming, but that stipend allows them to bring in national speakers and facilitators to help them make sure they are running a very solid program. They also have to engage at least 200 different SAEs to be in attendance to qualify for the grant. It's something that our foundation has graciously provided as a way to increase our leadership exposure and our leadership opportunities. Every 2 years, much like a lot of your organizations, we also come together for a national convention. This is where all the fun policies are hammered out and talked about across the 238 or so actually voting chapters. And it's also where we've been really having a very heated discussion for the last few years on going alcohol-free and our housing initiatives. I think that that's something that's very unique and worth noting. It is a very serious debate within our organization. It requires a 2/3 majority vote to pass. Last year, it got quite a bit better than 50%, but it didn't get to the supermajority. It's something that SAE is talking about nationwide. And I think that that's something important because it shows the level of interest and engagement that the fraternity on a national level has with regards to the debate about alcohol use. One of the things that's also great about SAE is how we're set up and how we're created. Most everybody's got some kind of an operating model where you've got field staff, educational consultants, and maybe you've got a couple of coordinators of extension that are out in the field, and they base out of headquarters and then they just travel all over the place. SAE's model is set up on a regional level, where we actually hire brothers that are from within the region and live within the region that they service. SAE has 8 regions, and I'm very proud to say that one of our regional directors, Darren Patton, who is here with us tonight, is not only a 2-time graduate of the University of Central Florida, but one of the things that also made him hireable was the fact that he had been student body president a couple of times here on campus. We thought, hey, not a bad guy to hire. It looks like he's been pretty engaged as an undergrad, right? Darren has been on staff with us for 7 years. One of the things you'll find that is absolutely different in how SAE functions is the longevity of our staff. When you get into our field operations model, there are about 50+ years of experience spread out across that Dallas accent, spread out across 8 different regional directors. We don't see the turnover in our positions that you find within other organizations, and that adds strength to how well we know our chapters and how well we can interact with our university partners. When you're looking at Sigma Alpha Epsilon across the state of Florida, we've got 9 different chapters. We have 11,000 alumni, 2,500 of which live here in the greater Orlando area. We have an Orlando area alumni association that is active and involved, and our alumni want to be involved on campus again. They want to not only have that connective spirit between their university alma mater, but they also want to be able to have that mentoring opportunity with the undergraduates and fraternity brothers. Providing support with our regional directors is also what we call our Province Archon program. Province Archons are our area presidents. These gentlemen work with a council that's usually composed of anywhere between 4 and 12 men that help kind of work with our alumni associations and work with our regional directors and provide that additional layer of staff support that's also very much in a local area. You'll find that the brothers that are involved as volunteers in our alumni base are the men that really help us, since we are such a large national organization, to keep a good eye on our chapters and to be there as a support network for them. This is our province structure. I started talking about the longevity of our staff. SAE has been in our headquarters with a national operation for over 80 years. We have tons of knowledge base and tons of manpower to be able to support our chapters. We've got 50+ years of experience on our field staff team, and we've got 12+ years of experience within our extension coordinators. One of the things that you'll see that is a little different about SAE's model is we have a large number of colonies in our operation. They are all being successful. We are seeing them accomplish and do great things. And we think it's because we hire men that are in their 2nd or 3rd professional career before they start interacting with our undergraduates in a support role. They're not a 23-year-old. They're somewhere between 25 and 35. They're guys that have been out there in the world. A lot of them come from higher education backgrounds. A lot of them have spent time working at AFA, going to AFLV, being involved as facilitators at UIFI, and these are men that are ready to help and stand by at the willing. Not to freak any of our alumni out, but one of the great things about our fraternity is I'll show you a little bit of a map. When I say 2,500 of them live in the area, I want you to actually be able to see that they do in fact live in the area. This groups them together so that you can drill in and see exactly where they are. Oh, maybe not. That took me to DFW. But there's the pretty bubbles. We can't drill it any further than that. But we've got an opportunity so that you can see alumni that actually are exactly here in the Central Florida neighborhoods. When I drilled in on that earlier with my internet connection, there were literally like 7 of them that lived right on the outskirts of campus. So they are your neighbors. Now, one of the things that also makes SAE great is the fact that we have got strong alumni advisory boards. Our chapters are encouraged to have them. They have to have an advisor. We encourage our chapters to have 5-person and minimum advisory boards. About 85% of our chapters actually have that many number of alumni engaged with their chapters on a regular basis. So not only do you have the support from our full-time staff and our province archons, but you also have built-in support of our advisory boards. And we have brothers that are here tonight that have already said they will serve as chapter advisors. Matter of fact, John Kelly said he was going to actually serve as the czar for hazing reporting. So that if at any point, at any moment, somebody ever feels like there is some kind of a problem, they can be comfortable in calling John. We don't want to ever have the problems that we've had in the past. When we find brothers like John that'll say that they want to step up and be that level of a mentor to help a chapter, John's got the job. Matter of fact, I think he was second, third, and it was a unanimous consent.
And I wasn't there.
Yeah, he wasn't even there. No. He led the conference call. So, as we get into kind of the real meat of what I want to talk about tonight, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about how we can evaluate the organizational alignment between the university and the fraternity. It starts at both of our creeds. At UCF, integrity, scholarship, community, creativity, and excellence are the guide, our conduct, performance, and decisions. When you start getting into SAE's values, you'll see a lot of overlap. You'll see overlap that incorporates honor, loyalty, fraternity, friendship, scholarship, and service. There is absolute alignment. Honor is representative of a man's integrity. Loyalty is representative of a man's devotion. Friendship is representative of a man's understanding. And fraternity is representative of a man's need to share common values and strive to better themselves through only the most intimate of relationships. That's what you can get out of fraternity. When you start looking at alignment of how these values come together, you can see the overlap in our organizations. And you can begin to understand where the roots entwine and come together. You can also see why we believe SAE is a good fit to be at UCF. You can also see that we have ready, willing, and anxious alumni that want to be fully engaged in having their fraternity back on campus. We develop in our members the skills which will aid in their abilities to make deep and meaningful friendships. We help our members better understand and experience diversity and change, and to enhance their respect for their university communities. And we'll instill in our members a sense of duty for individual and group involvement. Sigma Alpha Epsilon at UCF has a very rich tradition of being involved. At one point, there were 8 different brothers that were either the president or the vice president of the Student Government Association on campus. That was in a 30-year history, 33 years, from 73 to 2006. Our men, our brothers have been engaged, and they are anxious to be engaged again. Now, why Sigma Alpha Epsilon? Our educational programming is a partnership. We offer our online resources for the community to access. We have values-based anti-hazing programs. We have initiatives that train on alcohol skills programming. And we also work with the university staff and the existing IFC, Panhellenic, and NPHC and multicultural organizations on campuses so that we are all growing from our fraternity experience. Joint engagement is what it takes to be successful today. Shortly, you're going to hear from one of our alumni who's going to talk to you about what it means to be not just an SAE, but what it means to be Greek at UCF. The friendships and the bonds that are not only sowed within our own internal organizations, but are sowed across the Greek community. SAE brings in a partnership mentality. We want to be able to help provide programming that's pertinent to the campus environment that you're on today. So much so that if you come to us and you say, listen, we need help, we've got programming that we want to do, but we can't afford it, why don't you give us a call? We've got about $12 million worth of endowed funds that are usable for scholarships, all through our True Gentlemen Initiative, where we really do believe that it's a four-pronged approach to partnership. It's our undergraduate members, our alumni members, the fraternity. Last but not least, our host institutions. We do this across 12 different core areas of approach. These core areas are what make us unique in our operating model. For the last couple of minutes, I'd like to yield my time to Mark Hayes, a UCF alumnus and a brother, to come up and talk to you.
Hello. I have goosebumps, literally, because it seems like yesterday. I came here in 1985, literally with everything else in my car, and I was anti-Greek. I was a surfer boy. I had no intention of going to the rush party other than to get, free food and party. And a group of guys pulled me aside and didn't talk about SA. In fact, I didn't even wear the colors. I think they were breaking the rules by pre-rushing. But all they talked about was that 17,000 students were going to change the world. That's how big the campus was back then. It wasn't a circle, it was a pie shape. There was no student campus. All the houses were off over in what they called the ghetto. But everyone stood together as a team. And we did everything together. And I'm telling you, the spirit back then was there's nothing we couldn't do. And I stand in front of you not as a guy from National or a guy that says we're great. I think the KAs are great. I think every fraternity campus is great. That's what was ingrained in us, was that we were UCFers for life. And no, we couldn't find parking back then either. But I will tell you, we stood together as one. Every single event. I mean, our fraternity was all colors, all races, all ages. Half of my friends are older, younger. It was an amazing spirit on this campus. There was nothing we couldn't do. And we had our bad times, right? But we got through it. And there's a rich history here. You cannot go back through the history books of UCF and not see the SA flags with 2,000 sheets sewn together in the entire back lot of the football stadium downtown. You can't. You will see those pictures. And I was one of those guys, one of those crazy 19-year-olds. I'm just telling you. Now, what happened? We grew up, but we didn't grow out of what made us great. A gentleman in the audience, Rasesh Thacker, called me in 2006, and I did not work for him. He says, listen, UCF needs a medical school. We got to get the boys back together. We called Lambda Chi, Sigma Chi, Teeks, Pikes. We called them all. We all came together, and for 6 months, worked in the trenches, and developed a program for UCF. And his $12.5 million didn't hurt either, thank you. But Rasesh Thacker was a president of the fraternity. He's won the highest award that UCF gives. I was a president of SA. I won a bunch of awards on campus. That wasn't important back then. Because if you were an SA, you had to be in student government. You had to be in an honor society. You couldn't play sports if you didn't make grades. You had to mentor. I mean, we were in the trenches. There was a different mentality back then. But once you've tapped into what I represent, is that same passion and spirit that we don't have anymore. This is our home, and we want to come home. And I got to tell you, it's weird this happened at homecoming because I sent out one little ping on Facebook before the game, and this is nothing, guys. This is nothing. I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pings. Where do we go? Where do we go? And John Kelly said, don't let him go to the room. I mean, you have no idea what you tapped into. When they say 2,500, there are literally thousands of guys that live within a couple miles of here that want to come home. We want to get involved. We want to hire you guys. We want to do philanthropy projects with you guys. And we miss the fact that we were part of this great campus growth. Back then, when I came here from Ohio, they laughed at me. All my friends went to Ohio State. Why are you going to UCF? I'll show you. I'll show you. Right? And we almost kicked Ohio State's butt. You can bet I was one of the guys who got a whole bunch of people to go up there. And that's the kind of spirit this campus can't lose. You can't lose the rich history that we helped bring to this campus. And I have pages and pages of notes. But here's the bottom line, guys. We paid the ultimate price. There's a lot of fraternity sororities that are on suspension for things they've done wrong. But we lost our home. We lost a home that in a matter of weeks we raised a lot of money to build, and we built it with the blood, sweat, and tears that we got from this campus. And we lost it, and we're okay with that. We think the university did the right thing. We think our chapter did the right thing. But we want to come back. We want to prove to you, the students, that we have a lot to offer. In big bucket loads of pride. And pride only comes from time, and no other fraternity or sorority has the time that we have on this campus. It comes from experience, and no other group of men or women can share some fun experiences that you guys can't. You just can't live the time. I mean, I can tell you what happened at Lake Claire. I can tell you hours of fun stories about what happened at Lake Claire and in the reflection pond and every square inch of this campus. And we can't throw away that rich history. And all we're asking you is the opportunity to let us come home. Because we're family. We are your family, and we want to come home. Don't deny us the opportunity to come home. Because we will prove to you that this campus will never be the same. It will never be richer if you don't let us come home. Thank you.
All the time that SAE has for this presentation, so we'll open it up for questions.
I'd be glad to answer them. And if we left you totally speechless, we can go have dinner. Please.
I know the gentleman just touched on it briefly, but what sets you all apart from the other big organizations?
What sets us apart now or back then? Either one. So I think a lot of what we have going on right now is just an absolute refresh of all of our initiatives. The True Gentleman Initiative was actually originally created about 10 years ago. And we have, in the last 6 months, completely revamped it and overhauled it. We've introduced a monthly awareness program where we are partnering up with those other monthly initiatives like Anti-Hazing Week or Alcohol Awareness Month or Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and tying those into initiatives that our colonies will adopt and will use as part of their program. I think that that's something that you'll find is very different from what other organizations are doing. We also are doing that and fostering it in a mentality that is very collaborative. We want to do these on a monthly level because they're a bigger part of the entire campus community, and that's where SAE sees itself. We see ourselves as a part of that cog that helps make everything turn, and we're glad to just be a part of it. We're glad to help lead it if we get that opportunity, but we're also very humble enough to know that if we get that opportunity, we're glad to just be able to contribute the ideas and help pay it forward.
We have something to prove, and we have a story to tell. No one can tell the story like we can tell it. We will be the poster child for what not to do.
Absolutely. The other thing that we've got that's brand new is our online certification programs. We actually have what's called it's part of our True Gentleman Initiative, where we actually jump into training that is geared towards not only our operational models, but we're in the process of developing leadership training that's on anti-Semitism, homophobia, racism. We offer a program on bystander behavior, where we can come in as national staff and facilitate that, not for just our chapter, but for the entire community. The Alcohol Skills Training Program was created out of UW, University of Washington. That's a program that our staff members can bring to your Greek community, and it is a half-day introduction to exactly what alcohol does to us. Not that some of you may not already know that, but it's an introduction to how to handle it in a responsible manner. So our certification programs are definitely something that are new. And every single member of our colony completes so that it's a part of their built-in training. And as we expand it, it's something that our chapters will also be completed. Everybody has access to it right now, but we work specifically with our colonies to go through it.
And I think the other thing is also the pioneering spirit. I mean, if you may have noticed in one of the earlier slides, the firsts that SAE, national headquarters did. And, there's constant talk at national about how we can actually have other fraternities and sororities participate in those and learn from what we've learned from being one of the oldest programs and the history that we have.
One of our rooms in the Laver Memorial Temple is called the Panhellenic Room. And if you ever walk into that room, coated up on the ceiling of it, painted on the ceiling of it, are the coat of arms of every fraternity and every sorority that existed in 1930. When that building was built, it was built as a tribute to the spirit that is Creedmoor. Please.
What are some recent colony successes that you've had nationally?
Absolutely, great question. We've got two groups right now, and I'm going to just limit it to two. We have two groups that are on the cusp of getting their chapter charters this weekend and next weekend. And I like to think that those are our most successful because they've completed everything. Mississippi Delta State was chartered back in January, or they were colonized in January of 2011, and they'll reach their chartering now. They actually are a very unique group because the university called SAE and said, we have men standing in our office saying they want to be true gentlemen and we need your help. And we said, well, we're open ears, what can we do? And the university said, we've already vetted these guys, they are the best leaders on our college campus. And we said, how did they discover SAE? And they said they were interested in being in a fraternity. They started Googling things. And when they got into the values section of what SAE has to offer on our national website, they fell in love with the true gentleman. The Greek advisor on that campus, who realistically operates with a higher the hair, closer to God mentality, called us and said, you want these men. They will be perfect for you. And we went down and we met them, and they have a 3.2 GPA, which outpaces the rest of their Greek community, something fierce. They complete more service hours than the next two closest groups combined. And they do it because they bought into that value system. Those are our men at Mississippi and Delta State. The other group that's going to be chartering is at Rutgers. And they actually are doing this in just over a year. They were a colony starting in November of 2011. So they're doing it in about a year and a week. Both of these are absolutely two brand new campuses, too. We've never been at Delta State, and we've never been at Rutgers before. And so we're seeing just extremely phenomenal success. Our average colony GPA is a 3.2. So we've got some really bright young men out there. Part of our requirements for them to go through to become a chapter is they have to maintain a GPA above the Almonds average for 2 semesters in a row. So we build in accountability. We build in that academic drive. And if you want to know about some of our newer ones, I won't go as in depth, but we've got brand new colonies since April of last year. And I said we're a high volume organization. We have a lot of interest, and we've got a great structure that allows us to support these groups. But we've recently colonized at Houston, at Michigan State, at Kentucky, at Missouri, like 2 days ago, Saturday. And so we are in a process of, in some regards, starting new chapters, brand new chapters, like at Delta State and at Rutgers. And we're also in the process of reestablishing relationships with other universities and other alumni populations. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question about risk management. You talked a lot about community service. You talked a little bit about risk management. You listed a couple of the service sites like New Orleans. You talked about your Mosley Leadership School that happens on a cruise ship. How do you manage risk? And I mean, I've been on several cruises. The bars are wide open. I've been to New Orleans. The city's wide open. And so I'm just wondering, like, it seems like a lot of places that the men would be attracted to going to are high-risk environments.
I agree. They are. And in all of our years of having these events, they've gone over with little to no incident at all. When we have 700 undergraduate students on a cruise ship, temptation abounds. But I promise you, it is way safer to put 700 undergraduates on a cruise where it takes a passport to get on and off the ship as part of the verification process for being of age to consume. And it just works out marvelous. I mean, at a minimum, I would say that in the last couple of years, we have had a couple of MIPs, and they didn't even get to that level. Like the captain called and said, you need to come in here because this young man has been caught. And then we've handled the sanctions internally and the enforcement from the national level. A lot of times they end up failing the program, and that's a huge cost to them. It costs about $600 to go on these programs. And if they don't meet that, they have to not only pay back the $600 cost, but they also have to pay back the foundation stipend that makes it so affordable. So, and Frank, one of the things that also I think makes us really unique, we brought in Frank Ginocchio to be here with us today, and Frank has been on staff with the fraternity for 19 years and is our general counsel and our director of risk management. And I know that he would be more than happy to answer risk management related questions.
Actually, about leadership school, because one of the first things when we started the cruise ship leadership school 5 years ago, that was one of our bigger issues. We went to a university that was taking their group of freshmen on a cruise to get some ideas of how to do that. And basically, we use all the venues on the ship during the day. We start at 8 a.m. in the morning for school, and we have our general sessions in the theater. The different lounges are where we have breakout sessions. We use it all until about 5 o'clock. Then the fellows are free until dinner.
Do you have the whole cruise ship?
No, we don't. There are about 2,300 people on the cruise ship. We have about 800, 700 students, about 100 faculty and staff.
And the biggest thing is we get invited back every single year.
Yeah, we've been invited back, and Royal Caribbean, it's been a good experience. And one of the things, if you think about it, it's the ultimate third-party vendor.
Right.
They have the birth certificates, and they serve the alcohol. So, you know, it's not the responsibility. There's no way you can't watch all students here, who's of age or not. So we do the best we can. We use the ship to do that for us, and it's worked out well for us.
And can I ask another follow-up? Yeah. It's in the same category. So, risk management was one of the reasons that the organization left us in 2006. And so, what have you put in place to ensure that you said you have 2,500 alum in the area? I mean, every football game there's an SAE flag waving at a tailgate or what have you. So, how do you, for the brothers who have been expelled from the organization, what methods have you put in place to prevent them from coming back and interacting with this new colony that you're trying to form? I'm just really curious about that.
That's a difficult thing because you have people that are expelled, they're no longer members.
Right.
We can't do much more than expel a person. That's the ultimate thing that we can do to an individual. So not having them come by, we can talk to them, we can send them letters, and we can get an order of protection if we need to. Usually people will leave, we tell them if we give strong support, and we have alumni support here, which we have a lot of, you see in the room now, then we have the support for the chapter to be able to tell the older alums not to come back, or the older ex-alums, if you will.
And how do you know the difference between them? How will I know the difference as a university official from someone who is, because there have been people wearing shirts and doing things, I'm like, well, should they have that shirt on? And should they be doing that? And so how do you know the people who have good intentions versus the ones who don't? Because that's a very serious concern.
There's no way. I mean, you know, we hope that somebody who's wearing the letters is in fact an SAE, but you know, people can buy things. So.
When I came in 85, 120 men in my group, and so we were a big fraternity, and we were one of the largest. The group of men that caused that problem was a small group, and they weren't just kicked out. I mean, there's 1,000 guys that they're out, and not just the people, but that behavior is out. And we were mad. I mean, we're not just, oh, let's move on. I mean, those guys are gone. So So, and not just those individuals. I mean, I would love to see one of those guys show up in Jersey.
Well, a specific answer to your question.
Yeah, you can see a butt whooping, because we lost our home. We lost that. You bring it up.
Well, a specific answer to your question is that we've talked with the alumni advisory board that's being formed is limiting the actual participation of that, to kind of pre-2000, so that none of those members would even be involved in the alumni advisory board outside.
And we obviously have rosters and roles that we can pull for the guys that is 30 years of history from 73 to 27 years of history.
Darren's been here 9
2000.
years, he knows them all.
Yeah. so that we can make sure that they're kept away.
And also, I think people just need to be very sensible about it, and you have to understand. So, this 2 days ago, the weekend is homecoming. It's just fortuitous that this meeting or this hearing is right after homecoming. And I mean, it brought people out of the woodwork. And the talk was, they were furious. They were furious when it happened, and they're still furious. And I think that fury is a good thing, because it will make sure that the right people are in place. And when we talked about, as an example, if we've gotten together and said, we're blessed enough to have you guys accept that as one of the 2 groups that you will approve, that factually John Kelly, and John, if you could stand for a moment, John Kelly is going to be personally responsible.
No pressure,
I think I need to call my wife.
for making sure that none of the stuff that existed previously or any of those elements are around.
And we do training with our undergraduates now. This is a program that's brand new and been created within the last 4 years. It's called We Stand Together. And this is a presentation and a training program that our regional directors can deliver and do deliver to our chapters. We do it on a rotating cycle, so that they'll get it probably in about another year, so that it cycles through about once every generation of college students. But We Stand Together really is a fact-based initiative, that really tries to address that when students show up to college, it's statistically proven that about 50% of the always joiners have experienced some form of hazing before they even get to us. So we try to bring in some of those facts, that there are going to be some things where one guy says, well, I don't think, going on a run with guys is that big of a deal, or, well, I started drinking when I was 14, so, I don't mind having beer. And all of a sudden, it gets a little out of control. So we have to bring in the aspects and the educational value within our programming, so that we're not only training our undergraduates, but that we're also training our alumni. For some of our alums that had that incredible college experience from 73 to probably about 79, 18 was the legal drinking age. And so sometimes you even have to do a little bit of coaching with regards to some of those kinds of changes. So it's always a fun endeavor, and the national organization feels like it's really well prepared with a lot of programming and a lot of strong resources to help make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students.
Very briefly, what's your recruitment process? How do you go about recruiting?
Absolutely. We'll bring somebody onto campus, and we will have somebody staffed here. We also solicit names from our alumni and from other students that know people that are going to UCF. And that's always a part of our kind of process for recruiting, because we believe that the more you get to know somebody before you ask them to join or before you can give them a bid, the better off your organization is. So we have kind of a multi-level process, but we usually we'll bring somebody in from the staff level. We'll also bring in student support from other areas if needed. And then we also rely heavily on our alumni. Another way that we have seen strong success is also being able to utilize our university partners. Sometimes when you go into an expansion process, I know you guys have got a timetable for maybe seeing somebody here in January and then seeing somebody here in January of 2014. SAE is open to either one of those. We're flexible. We're glad to be here starting in January if you'd like to have us, and if you think that you need us to wait until 2014, then we'll be able to patiently, humbly wait. But we will, and we want you to know that we'll respect that. We've had institutions that we've worked with that have said, we would like you to start recruiting after our IFC does. If that's a policy, we'll meet that policy. The one thing that we will ask is if you've had people that have registered and were not given bids or did not join, we'd like to be able to have access to that so that we can call and meet those men, so that we can have access to those folks. We also use university dean's lists. Those are public information. We enjoy a high-value target, somebody out there that's already building a great academic reputation. So that's part of it. How do you guys recruit? Yeah, or just in general. What's kind of the recruitment process on campus?
Well, although we do promote a 365-day recruitment, we've struggled with that in the past. Due to our unique culture here at UCF, we've kind of gone into a formal recruitment week with, we call it Tent Rush, where we kind of have a large parade of men who just come into tents, hang out within a week. They don't get a bid, they do, they join that fraternity. But we're moving away from that. We've actually just this past semester gotten rid of it. So this spring we'll be really pushing to a 365 recruitment, more in line with other national fraternities. That way more organizations rely on themselves and their accountability with that.
If you guys want to have some help with that, we have a brother named Tom Healy who works for Campus Speak, and he is the runner of Recruitment Boot Camp for the national. And we've had Tom at our National Leadership School programming. We've had Dave Stolman, who's one of the founders of Campus Speak. Even though Dave's a SIGEP, we love him. We bring him onto the cruise ship every single year. People try to give him the grip, and he's like, guys, I know similar letters, but one's different. We always bring Dave on board, and Dave does some of our recruitment boot camp programming as well. So I think that that's something that if you're interested in that, and if that would be a benefit, to help you guys in that transition, I play golf with Tom pretty regularly. I'm glad to call.
What's your new member education process look like?
It's a great question. We have actually just developed a formalized 8-week pledge program that is national. So when we set up a colony, we not only give them a structured 8-week pledge program that initiates the same semester, but it outlines every activity that there is to be done on a weekly basis. And it walks them from beginning to end. And then the thing that accompanies that pledge education guide is also a facilitator's guide. Because you can't just give a book to the pledges and say, okay, cool, glad to have you, bro. You've got to have education as a part of that. And so we've created this facilitator's manual that we train our pledge educators on how to use so that they can walk the undergrad new members through the process of becoming SAEs. Does that answer that for you?
Also, that book you have in front of you is new member guide to handle.
That is the Phoenix, and the Phoenix is our pledge manual. And if you would like to have a copy of it, I've got 3 more sitting up here. So if anybody would like to have a copy, you're welcome to. So all the secrets are the stuff that's X'd out.
I know you all identified an advisory board. Have you identified a faculty or staff advisor?
We have not identified a specific faculty advisor as of yet. And I think some of that is we don't want to have to mess with heartache for some reason if you don't choose. But I'm very confident that if you do, we're not going to have a problem at all finding a faculty advisor. And I think what would also be fantastic on our end, and this is something we've done with other universities, is we like to ask who would be a good lead. Or if we find a brother on campus that's an SAE and that's initiated and is a professor and would like to be a faculty advisor, what kind of not only training can we provide him on a national level, but what kind of training does the university provide? Most university programs have now created kind of some little organizational advisor training programs. So we want to make sure that they understand that you got to complete ours and the universities. So we don't have one yet, but I don't think we'll have a problem identifying that.
We have time for one more